Human beings resonate with stories. I would argue in your opener, you talked about unicorn companies. So I think what you'll find in common with all of the companies that grew to billion-dollar valuations in relatively short periods of time is that they all have a great story. To be an entrepreneur, you have to have guts. So even as a young person, people, my friends didn't understand what I was doing. Why are you doing this? So you have to have courage. You have to believe in yourself. And I was a kid. Now I'm tall, but at 12 years old, I was a small little boy. Remember that when Facebook was new, that Mark Zuckerberg actually resisted putting advertising on the platform because he wanted Facebook to be cool. Thumzup is in the process of creating billions of dollars of value by democratizing social media marketing. The other way that we explain to people is that right now, Thumzup is the only platform that we know of that makes it easy for a business or a brand to pay people cash to post about that business or brand on their social media. So we think that's really compelling right there, just that concept.
Hi, welcome to a brand new episode of Mobile App Daily Interview Series where we catch up with the best of innovators disrupting the digital industry with a unique leadership style and new age solutions. Today's guest is one such serial entrepreneur who started his first company at just 12 years of age. Fast forward to 2020, he decided to launch his own mobile app that aims to disrupt the $208 billion online advertising market. Let's welcome Robert Steele, founder and CEO of Thumzup, an ad tech platform that enables individuals to get paid in cash for posting about participating advertisers on major social media outlets. Robert, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
All right, so you started your first company at just 12 years old, and I was wondering, what was it like being a preteen founder in that era?
Oh, it was very exciting. So this was soon after the Apple II had gained a lot of success. So my parents had the ability to get me a computer as a young person, and we liked to play games, and I actually wrote video games. But you had back in those days, a person had to build their own game controller. So you think of a joystick or a Nintendo game controller. So I actually manufactured them and sold them at the local computer stores. This was on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. And I made many of them, and there was great demand. So it was a great entrepreneurial, there was a need, I saw a need, and there was a market for it, and I was able to create my own product. So it was a great start and set me on a course for a career of being a technology entrepreneur.
Great. So, was there a particular lesson you carry from that experience till day?
Well, sure. To be an entrepreneur, you have to have guts. So even as a young person, people, my friends didn't understand what I was doing. Why are you doing this? So you have to have courage. You have to believe in yourself. And I was a kid. Now I'm tall, but at 12 years old, I was a small little boy. So I had to go into these computer stores with these big grown men and convince them that my product worked. So those are lessons that I use today.
No, I'm sure that must have been the core foundation of sort of the entrepreneurial fire that you have today, because you've just gone on from one great product to another and just kept on going and never really, most people sort of found a couple of companies and they just retire and, enjoy the Miami Beach or the, LA headway. But yeah, anyway, how has your leadership style changed over the years? Do you think there's been a change?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great question. Yes, as a younger leader, I tended to stress speed of execution. I tended to want everybody to look at things the way I looked at things. So the benefit of being older and having more experience is the opposite. That I actually believe that as an older leader, I have more ability to assess my team and their different skills and the way that they look at things differently. I don't feel the need for everybody to look at things the same way. So I think that I know how to, in the military, they call it unit cohesion. So I think I know how to help keep the team together as a team, but also have all their differences work together. That's what helps a lot, to have a little more experience in life, I think.
Is there a team building exercise or a couple of exercises that you practice at Thumzup to build
Oh,
that sort of?
absolutely. The most important team building exercise that I deploy is telling stories. So when we open our team meeting, I encourage everybody at every level of the company to share stories with the group. Human beings resonate with stories. I would argue in your opener, you talked about unicorn companies. So I think what you'll find in common with all of the companies that grew to billion-dollar valuations in relatively short periods of time is that they all have a great story. So we're building a culture of storytelling culture here. It brings people into our community, connects them with us. So that's my, currently at Thumzup, that's my go-to leadership tool, is getting everybody telling stories about the company and what we're doing.
And you've also been, prior to Thumzup, you have been the CEO of two publicly traded companies, which essentially dealt with outsourcing and copyright infringement. And then you
Yes.
moved on to ad tech industry. What inspired
Yes.
that shift of getting into a new domain?
Well, I was in mobile really early with a startup that ultimately wasn't successful. So this was about 20 years ago. In the .com era, I raised about $4.5 million for a early mobile company. So mobile was always something that was very much on my mind. So that's part of the story. The second part of the story is that in Los Angeles, we have a lot of creative people who are working in gig economy jobs. So there's a lot of people who come to Los Angeles. They want to have a career in acting or in music. And while they're pursuing their dreams, they're driving for Uber, or or working on Upwork or Fiverr. So the big idea here at Thumzup is, I said, there must be some way for us to build a community and a technology platform that would allow all of those gig economy workers to make some extra money telling their friends about businesses they love. So we thought about, we thought the Uber driver has to eat lunch somewhere, he has to buy gas somewhere. So can we use technology to make it really easy so his voice has value, her voice has value, and can we make it really easy in their downtime for them to make some extra money? And that was the origin of the idea. And now it's working and it's live, and we're very excited about that.
How would you describe Thumzup to potential advertisers as well as creators who would like to be a part of Thumzup?
Sure. There's two components to the way that we tell the story. The first thing that we say is that Thumzup is democratizing social media marketing. So similar to how Uber created tens of billions of dollars in value by democratizing ride sharing, and Airbnb created tens of billions of dollars by democratizing hospitality, Thumzup is in the process of creating billions of dollars of value by democratizing social media marketing. The other way that we explain to people is that right now, Thumzup is the only platform that we know of that makes it easy for a business or a brand to pay people cash to post about that business or brand on their social media. So we think that's really compelling, right there, just that concept. So you already know, you've probably done it yourself, that from time to time, people will post about products that they like on their social media for no compensation. So there's already an activity out there that people do. What we're doing is giving them the benefit and giving them value for the value that they're bringing. And this encourages more of the behavior, makes it, it's an easy way for the brand or the business to remind people that they value their voice, And human beings like getting a reward. Most people like getting cash. So this is scalable like an ad network, but it's real people telling their friends about products and brands that they like. And what we found that's really interesting is that even though the money is somewhat of a motivator, people take their social media feeds very seriously. So many, if not most people, won't even take the money if they don't really like the product. So the posts that are made on Thumzup are really valuable. And even though there is compensation, they have a high level of sincerity because people don't want their personal brand being associated with something they don't think is cool.
Speaking of strategies, what were the missing gaps that Thumbs Up was able to identify in the current ad tech market that led to the very birth of this product?
Well, digital advertising has been through a fascinating series of growth evolution steps. So remember that when Facebook was new, that Mark Zuckerberg actually resisted putting advertising on the platform because he wanted Facebook to be cool. So in the beginning of the Facebook evolution, it didn't have ads. He was focused on dominating this new market and establishing that dominance. And so there's always been this tension between technology being cool and technology being monetized. So we really think we have brought something really new to that dynamic because Thumzup is fun. Our clients are enjoying working with it. Our users are enjoying working with it. We are creating a community. There's buzz. There's excitement. So we think that we have really nicely threaded this needle between compensation for advertising and creating a technology that's new and fun and exciting.
What kind of response have you received from the participating advertisers as well as the micro influencers that are on the platform?
Oh, sure. So our first client is a crystal store and meditation studio in Venice, California, about a block from the beach. So after 5 months of using Thumzup, they looked at their revenue numbers and they determined that their revenues had increased 40% in the 5 months after using Thumzup as they compared it to the 5 months prior to using Thumzup. So initially with our first customer, we got really good data that the Thumzup platform was helping them drive sales. So during that period, what happened was one of the other local businesses in Venice Beach, a deli called Bellissimo, saw what was going on at Hallowed Ground, and they came to us and asked to purchase the service. They didn't know at the time that they were customer number 2. So that customer has been in the app for more than a year, renewed the service many times, and he absolutely believes that Thumzup brings him more business. So we were off to a great start there, and then now we're getting close to having 100 advertisers in the app. So we have advertisers that have told us that the service has paid for itself within the first 2 weeks. We have advertisers that are referring us to their friends, and their friends are signing up and paying for it. So we have a client called Doobies that's near the beach, and they recently introduced us to their friend that runs a juice store on the Hollywood Walk of Fame called Juicealicious. So on the advertiser side, we're getting feedback that there's an economic benefit to them that's clear. They like it enough that they're referring it to their friends. Then on the user side, we recently exhibited at a local festival, and we had 50 new users sign up and post at that festival. But one of the things that was interesting for us is that while we were at the festival, we met at least 4 people that already had the app on their phone. So they didn't know that we were going to be at the festival. They walked up and they said, "Oh, I've got Thumzup on my phone." So even though it's early days here at Thumzup, we're starting to see that we have presence in the community. We're getting anecdotal stories. One of our users told me last week, she said, "Oh, I love Laurent's Le Cafe on Washington Boulevard, and I didn't even know it was there until I used the Thumzup app." So for us, that's huge because that's really what we believe that we're doing here is we're techies call this hyper local. So we really think we are threading the needle that a lot of people have been trying to thread for a long time on how to use mobile technology to really drive hyper local sales of small businesses. Um, we're excited about all of those elements.
That's great. Speaking of markets, I was curious, what is the current market penetration that you have seen with Thumbs Up, and how do you plan on expanding that market expansion?
Sure. Well, you know, we often talk about Uber. It's an executive concept that I think is a best practice that we want to try not to reinvent the wheel. So on one hand, we're innovative, but we also want to learn from what people have done before who have solved similar problems. So there's actually a book written about how Uber and other similar companies launched. It's called The Cold Start Problem. So I'm very thankful for that book. So we're at the point which is similar to where Uber was when they started focusing on just a small area of San Francisco. So they didn't initially try and deliver the Uber service to all of San Francisco. They started in just a small targeted area, and they built market dominance in that small targeted area. So so just like Uber, if you had discovered Uber when it was brand new and you'd ordered a ride and no driver showed up, you wouldn't have been happy with it. So that's why it's important for a business like ours to stay focused in a small area so that we can generate a good experience for both advertisers and users. And that's what's happening right now is that our advertisers, they sign up and literally the same day they appear in the app, boom, a Thumbs Up user comes by and posts about them. So they see immediate results. But part of the reason why that's working is because we're not spreading out too thin, too fast, and going into areas where the opposite would happen, where someone would sign up for Thumbs Up and there wouldn't be any knowledge of it in that community. So we're doing exactly what Uber did, staying focused initially on building market dominance in a small geographical area. But in the near future, once we have more of the type of proof, just a moment ago I was giving you a bunch of stories about proof of how it's working. So once we have more evidence that we are getting market dominance and that we are getting inbound referrals from paying customers that we've never talked to, where the presence in the community is driving adoption and sales of the platform. So once we have plenty of evidence that that's occurring in this small area of Los Angeles that we're concentrated on right now, then we will expand to additional smaller areas. So you might imagine it could be Miami or it could be New York. And again, in this next step, we wouldn't do all of Miami. We do a targeted small area of Miami and demonstrate, look, we did in Miami the same thing that we did in Los Angeles. And then maybe we might do it in New York. And look, we did the same thing in New York and Miami that we did in Los Angeles. And we created market dominance in a small area, and we got inbound leads and referrals for people that wanted to buy the service in that area. And we believe that once our investors see that they will continue to help us capitalize the business. So then we can go to 5 cities, portions of 5 cities, then go to portions of 20 cities, and then have enough financing to do a national rollout and support a national marketing campaign so that we can make sure that when the advertisers sign up in St. Louis and in Tallahassee, Florida, that we actually have awareness and users that post on the campaigns. And that is very similar to what Uber did. Airbnb, for instance, knows that if they get 300 listings in a new geographical area, that it grows from there. So we're at that point where we're proving that exact concept out for Thumbs Up.
Okay, so how many listings have you been able to reach so far?
We're getting close to having 100 advertisers in the app in Venice and Santa Monica.
Great. All right, and you also recently onboarded Dr. Massey to your newly formed advisory board. Could you tell us a bit about the advisory board and how have the advisors' expertise sort of shaped company operations, and what do they bring to the table?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, we're very thankful for the advisors that are helping the company. So it is important to get outside input and not, I'm coming in every day very focused on the things that I'm talking about, but it's very, very important to be able to get outside perspectives from people who have experience uh, and have established themselves in their field and other fields. So we're very, very thankful that we're being able to get that type of input from qualified people like Dr. Massey. So you'll see us do more of this as we go forward. The company plans to uplist to a senior exchange, and part of the process of uplisting to a senior exchange is that we do have to have a board of directors. So part of what you're seeing happening with our advisory board is, don't be surprised if at some point in the future people who are currently listed as advisory board actually become board members of Thumzup. That's part of the idea that's happening here. So in order to uplist to a senior exchange, we do need board members, and Dr. Massey has demonstrated expertise in some of those elements that we would need to qualify for an uplisting to a senior exchange.
One potential concern with incentivizing users of an app to post about advertisers is the possibility of having inauthentic content. And I was wondering, how does Thumzup ensure that whatever content goes on the platform is bias free, is authentic, and is engaging?
Oh, great question. So the way the Thumzup platform works is first, it's clear that these are paid posts. Okay, so every post has a hashtag ad in it, hashtag AD, which is the standard for any influencer that's being paid for them to properly inform the public. So, in the United States, the law says that if you're paid to promote a product, that you have to disclose that you're paid to promote a product. So we're just following that law, and the way we're doing it is by automatically putting hashtag ad in every post. So first off, we're not in any way representing that it's not a paid promotion. But with that said, the platform is clear to the Thumzup user that they're only paid if the post is approved. So the Thumzup user interface has a dollar figure in the upper right-hand corner, and when the user taps on that, it shows them the dollar figure in two subtotals. One subtotal is the pending amount, and the other subtotal is the approved amount. So when the post is made, the advertiser goes on a Thumzup login dashboard that we give each advertiser, and they review the post. And the ones that they want to pay for, they approve. The ones that they don't want to pay for, they can reject. So if the post doesn't mention their brand or their business, then there's no need for them to pay for it. So in that dashboard, they've got the user's cell phone number, and they've got the user's Instagram name, so they can communicate with them either way. So the user has given us permission to receive text messages. So the advertiser can send them a text message or an Instagram direct message and can say, thank you for making a post. If you make a post that clearly features our brand, then we'd be happy to approve it. Can you try again? So there's a feedback loop there with the user to coach them on what is valuable for payment. So if the picture is blurry, they can give them feedback that the picture is blurry. So that's the quality control mechanism. And great question. Thank you.
No, certainly. So what's the ballpark figure for a micro influencer that comes on the platform that they can potentially earn from advertisers?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so even at our small stage right now, we have Thumzup users that are making more than $1,000 a month on our platform. So on average, our advertiser is willing to pay $10 a week, is kind of the average right now. So there are some campaigns that pay $50. There are some campaigns that pay $3, but the average is that they're paying $10 a week, so that's $40 a month. So if you think of 100 advertisers, the high possibility right now is someone could probably make 40 times 100, close to $4,000. We haven't had anyone max it out like that yet. So we've got dozens of power users, I guess you would call them, that are north of $1,000 a month, and that's a win-win for us and for our advertisers. Advertising is about impressions, so our power users are giving our clients lots of impressions. All of the posts automatically have hashtags inserted in them. So for instance, a lot of our clients in this area have geographic hashtags, hashtag Santa Monica, hashtag Venice Beach. So millions of people follow hashtag Venice Beach. So this is expanding the reach of these posts to a large community of people. So we're very excited about that.
Wonderful. Now, what I am curious about is that given your amazing track record growth that you've had in the initial phases, what made you opt for Regulation A plus offering rather than going for bootstrapping or approaching a VC venture?
Sure. Well, so we really believe that democratization is the future of this industry and of many industries. So that's why not only is our technology advancing democratization within our industry, but we're also using democratization to finance the company. So the RegA Plus, at a simple level, just think about if you had an idea personally, and you wanted to be able to get investment from essentially everybody you know. You wanted your friends and family and their friends and family to be your backers. So that's what the RegA Plus legally enables us to do. So I am currently in the process of reaching out to just about everybody I can remember that I've ever met in my life and letting them know about this opportunity. So with another way I explain this to people is, I've been on the inside of these types of tech startup world for a long time now. And even me, I live in California, but the first time I heard of Uber, it was already worth $1 billion. The first time I heard of Airbnb, it was already worth $1 billion. So right now, this is really unique that the average investor has access to invest in a company with that potential at this low of a valuation. So we're excited about that. So we want to bring that opportunity to everybody and not just to a select rare group. So that's the vision of the RegA Plus and why we chose to go this way.
Can you please explain how RegA Plus crowdfunding works, and what sort of equity share does it really entail?
Sure. So, right, what for instance, you hear the term angel investor. So in the United States, you have the Securities and Exchange Commission, which regulates how someone can raise capital for their business. So and I'm not a lawyer, I'm just giving you the entrepreneur's perspective. So usually what's most common is an entrepreneur learns that they can only sell stock in their new company to someone who is an accredited investor. So in rough terms, the SEC defines accredited investor as someone who has a net worth of more than $1 million, excluding their primary residence, or has a history of making more than $200,000 a year. I think they have to verify that that's happened for the last 2 years in a row, something along those lines. So that is a small community. That is often what people refer to as the 1%. All right. So in modern culture, there's a lot of discussion about diversity and opening up opportunity for everybody. So right away, if an entrepreneur doesn't have a community of high net worth individuals, then how do they finance a young company? It's not easy. So in a good way, there was this law passed called the Jobs Act. I think we're getting into more than 10 years ago. But the Jobs Act opened up what is now called the RegA Plus registration.
Okay.
This is a thing that an entrepreneur can apply for with the SEC, where as long as they meet the criteria, you can see our form that we filed a form with the SEC to apply to get this registration ability, and you can see it online at sec.gov. But the SEC granted us this ability. So they granted us this. So there was a new law that created this opportunity. We applied to use the new law, and we got the permission from the SEC. And so basically what that means is that now we can, that anyone can invest in the company. They don't have to be an accredited investor. Now we disclose to them in all the documents that it's risky. This is an early stage company. There's many reasons why it might not ultimately work out. So we're clear with them about that. But also, if it works out as we all believe, as I believe it will, I'm very, very confident that it's working out well, and it's going to work out well. Then they can partner with us on what could be a 10 or 100x increase in their investment. And how often does the average person get the ability to do that? Usually, that's reserved for the venture capitalists. So that's the background on the RegA Plus, is that we're legally allowed to sell the investment. The minimum investment is $1,000. So we've raised almost $300,000 in this current RegA Plus. We're selling stock for $4.50 a share. So we have been authorized to sell 2 million shares. So the goal is to raise $9 million. And the stock can be purchased on our website, thumzupmedia.com, thumzupmedia.com. There's an Invest Now button. You can invest on a debit card or a credit card or ACH or wire. Very, very easy. You can do it on your phone. And there's a phone number there if you want Andy to help you. So that's thanks for asking, and that's what we're doing with the RegA Plus.
I'm curious, what's been the most underrated and undervalued piece of advice on entrepreneurship and founding companies and or leadership style that you've heard, which you think more people should pay attention to?
Wow, that's a great question. Yes, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would try and convince my younger self not to take failure personally. Okay. So for instance, I wrote, after I created the business that made the game controllers, I wrote a video game that was similar to Pac-Man before Pac-Man. And I tried really hard to get to make it a commercially viable product. So it was a commercially viable product, but I was a teenager and I didn't know how to sell it. And I sent it to many of all the top software distributors of the day. I sent it to them, and I just never got anyone who picked it up and distributed it for me. And at the time, I really internalized that as a huge failure in my own mind. If I could go back and talk to my teenage self, then I would have told young Robert, just do it again. Get over it. Just do it again.
Wow, that was very insightful. I'm sure, given the hyper-localization approach that you have adopted for Thumzup, it's likely to be a success. Thank you so much again for joining me today, and have a great day.